Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next podcast of the Crystal Water Experience with me, Dr. Jo Whitaker. And I've got Indy Core here today, and she's going to be talking about a topic that's very close to my heart. It's about natural health, about detoxing, and about how you can be the best version of yourself. So every week I bring on an expert in their field, and we talk about different topics and things that you may or may not have heard before, but we definitely bring a new dimension to this podcast, which you probably can't find absolutely everywhere, but this information is starting to come out, and I hope bringing these wonderful people on the podcast will help you see things in a new light. So welcome, Indy.
Hi, well, thank you for having me, Jo.
That's all right, love. So you really struck me when we were met at an event with Ranjita about how knowledgeable you were and how much you have been doing work in your community and with the services that you provide and the information you provide. And it very much resonated with me because you are doing this absolutely full time and you've got a very, very deep knowledge. And I wonder if you could sort of start by the beginning. I mean, you weren't always in this kind of natural health kind of sector, were you? As many people are. Once they're in something else, like mainstream medicine and pharmacy, they then see actually this is just not quite working. So I wonder if you can just go back to the beginning a little bit and tell us a little bit about your journey.
Okay, so if I went way back to the beginning, I would say I was in the natural health field because growing up, at home, our parents would use all natural remedies, turmeric and fennel, ajwain, and all of that to help us with stomachache, inflammation, and all of that. And then obviously, as you get schooled and you go into a field that you think, especially in the South Asian world, we feel like we have to go into the medical field or be a lawyer or something really big. And so I decided to become a pharmacist because for me, that felt like, okay, this is, how I'm going to heal people. So I became a pharmacist, and then very quickly it stopped aligning with me after practicing it. So I think quite possibly within the first 6 months, something started to click inside my head, and I felt like I'm here to heal people, but everybody, people are coming in month after month, taking away a bag of prescription drugs, or taking away the same things, if not more, every time, and they still look the same, and they're speaking to me that they're having more symptoms or they're feeling a little bit worse than they were before. And then that was it, really. I think it was like there was a defining moment for me. Was packing pills for an elderly lady, and she had a whole boatload of medication, and I felt like this is like the sixth that's supposed to be managing the symptoms, like blood pressure, cholesterol, high cholesterol, whatever it was. The rest of them were for the side effects, and that was it. I was like, enough is enough. Like, this cannot be the way. And then, I went back and thought about how we grew up and the things that, possibly our ancestors were doing. And that was it. It was just from there, I stopped working in pharmacy. I carried on for a little while, I think 3 years, because, you've got to put food on the table. But then I just stopped because I needed to find something else to do. And I didn't know what that was at that point, but yeah, that's what I did.
How did your colleagues react when you said that you were moving into this space, and what's happened over time when people have seen what you're doing?
So I think more so it was, parents, grandparents, because, for them, they were like first generation immigrants. They came here, they had to work really hard to get us an education. And for them, for my granddad especially, he was really proud when we did, get a master's degree in pharmacy. And he could now say, his grandchildren were working in the medical field. And so I think it was colleagues, etc., was fine. It wasn't really a big deal. It was just a surprise, like, oh wow, okay, because they know you're taking a massive pay cut, right? Because you're coming from the pharmacy world into trying to fight your own really and do your own business. So it was more my granddad, I think, and my dad maybe that were like, so what are you going to do now? And do people really want to learn about this? And I think it was for them, it was a bit of a shock, even though they've come from that world
Mhm.
and they know. I think for them it was too normal because we've grown up like that. It was too normal, whereas the medical world was like a revelation. It was all new, but they've got used to it.
Hopefully they have. I was speaking to a couple of ladies who were second generation immigrants from Birmingham, and we were having a chat when I was at Birmingham last week. And I was saying, there's a lot of toxins in food and water. And they went, yeah, yeah, but we know that. And I said, you might know it, and it may be in your culture, but it's been so embedded here for so long that many people don't know it. They are completely unaware of the, I don't know, best way to describe it, weaponization of food and water and medicine. And you might be aware, but not everybody is. And they were really surprised because, of course, they were living in their little bubble. Do you think people from, the sort of cultural background you came from and the people maybe from that area are more aware than people that have lived here generation after generation?
I think they're definitely becoming more aware. A lot of the work I do I do community work, which is Seva, so that's my charity, and then obviously I have my business, so I bring different people in. So if I work within the community, it is a lot of the older ladies who are feeling, that the effects of the toxins, right? So they're feeling ill and they're kind of thinking they're feeling a little bit betrayed as well because they're like, we came to this country and we felt like we were told don't have ghee, and now they're telling us it's good again. So a lot of things they stopped doing, and a lot of things they just trusted the Western world to know that to do everything right and teach them everything that's right. So I mean, my generation now, I would say it's very much, people are becoming very much more aware. And it is because of people like yourself, people like myself, who are bringing it to the forefront to say, like, this is what's happening. And there's always going to be your kind of people in the background that are like, "Ugh, it's just fear mongering and, you're too much. And our parents were doing this." What they don't realize is how much food has changed over the years, how many things have been going on in the background that we don't necessarily can't always talk about on these platforms, but things that are going on in the background that we don't know about. And well, we know about, but they don't necessarily know about. Um, so yeah, I think slowly, I think I'll answer your question now, but I think yes, they're becoming a lot more aware, definitely.
That's really good news. And then we can spread that information virally. I've got a question about the difference between, say, Asian supermarkets and Western big supermarkets. Now, I have this theory, right, that where the Asian supermarkets maybe are sourcing their fruit and vegetables is possibly a different place or chosen differently to the big supermarkets. I can't be sure about that. I mean, you're much more likely, this is my one random thought on it. You're much more likely to get melons with seeds in, for instance, from an Asian supermarket than you are from like the supermarket.
Yeah. So they do, I think a lot of it comes from abroad anyway. Like there is farming there is places where they farm this in the UK, I suppose. But honestly, they still use the same practices, I think, a lot where they're spraying the aubergine to make it plumper and darker because this is now the normal, right? This is the norm. So I don't know. I think there's no separate place I would say that they're really getting it from. That it is just going to be farmers markets, and those farmers markets are what are probably supplying a lot of the supermarkets here and the other smaller shops and supermarkets.
So unless you kind of shop around and find yourself an organic or biodynamic farm
Mm.
straight from the farm, you don't really know. Okay. Um, Darn. But actually it does make sense because I'm now starting to follow what's going on in India and the pushback from the farmers there, because of them being forced into this kind of Western agriculture. I wouldn't say it's Western though, is it? It's like it's big agriculture methods of farming. And I can see it's a big pushback for the food there. And in the EU, there is, I've just listened to it yesterday actually, there's awareness now being raised as to the quality of our environment and food. So hopefully this becomes a major topic and hopefully we don't need to do what we're doing anymore. We can do something else because people are not getting sick from the food, right?
Yeah, you'd hope, right?
This is the plan, everybody. We don't plan to build an empire. We plan to get less relevant over time so you guys can feel better. And you just said something about, the older ladies and the buildup of toxins. And it's something that I say, people don't necessarily are getting old, they're just building up toxins over time. And one of the things that you say is, what about detoxing, say, women over 40? What is your experience of what works and what doesn't work and what you've learned over this time?
Okay, so that is, I mean, the reason I work with women over 40 is because I feel like my generation, I'm 43 now, so I feel like we got to the point of, I think when I went to university was a point where I started to eat really bad. And obviously, it takes time in your body to accumulate, it takes time in your body to manifest as disease. So, yeah, I think with like people like myself or with any generally women over 40, I feel like a lot of them were living at home for a long time, so they've had like maybe 20 years of accumulation. And the way I work with them is it is through starting to firstly to strip back on toxins. Like some people go straight in with supplements, they go straight in with heavy detoxes and cleanses, but honestly that can wreck your gut health even more. So the way I work is very gentle. So it's strip back where we can first. Like go get yourself a water filter. Like, we are more than 80% water. Go get yourself something that's going to be filling your body with clean water. And and it's not even about like buying loads of devices or these little apps and rings and whatever it is people buy. This is about tuning back in, and I'm really big on that. So because I'm a chemist as well, like from a pharmacy background, I always want to bring in that ancestral wisdom with the science. So I always say to these women, because a lot of them are like me, is that yes, this is what our ancestors did, but also look, this is what science is saying about it. So because a lot of people dispute what our ancestors did is relevant now.
Hmm.
So I always like to back it with that, okay, this is what science is saying. Even though in my heart, like technically, I know over 5,000 years of ancestral wisdom, like we can't deny it, that we can't deny what they did worked, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, I think it's a case of stripping back, removing those toxins, and then it's building, like it's layers, it's working through what it is, because a lot of people feel like I've got this symptom, and I feel like the wellness world has become very much like the medical world, where they're supplementing a symptom. So you've got fatigue, so you must need vitamin B12, or you've got bloating, so you must need this. But they're not looking at what's going on underneath, like why they're bloating. It could be something very simple. So that's how I work. I work like I kind of reverse engineer it, which is going back to the root and why is it you're bloating? And people don't realize that when you start to come towards your 40s, that naturally, with your hormones, naturally, physiologically, your digestion and all of that is going to start slowing down a little bit. And naturally, your body is, with the accumulation of the toxins, it's going to start to slow down and feel sluggish. And that's why my starting point always is just strip back and start looking at sustainably where you can, like food is a big thing, right, Joe? You mentioned it. Like if you can look for biodynamic farms where they, organic food, start with that. And I know people think it's really expensive, but like what is the cost of your health? I never get it. Like when people say it's expensive because they're happy to spend money on handbags or cars and big houses, but really, like, what is what is your like we talk about legacy? What is your legacy going to be? It's got to be health, right? And put us out of a job, become healthy, so we don't need to be doing this work. As much as I love this work, but I think I'd love it if we were just in a world where we were all healthy and thriving together as well.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think that is a really important message and something that really resonates with me, that supplementing things is you don't know what your symptoms are until you can cut out what might be causing it. And maybe without kind of getting blocked on YouTube, I'm just going to give an example, and you probably looked into this as well, on the sort of things that have been messed around with food. And by the end of 2026, all flour in the UK is going to contain folic acid. Now, we've all been led to believe that folic acid will reduce the chances of deformities in babies, and it's really good for women, pregnant women. And the whole ethos behind it, I was reading on the NHS, was to prevent 200 fetal abnormalities in the whole country. So they're going to medicate the whole country. When I looked into this, folic acid, well, it's made of petroleum, so it's synthetic, it's made of petrol. And there is a yellow card scheme to report side effects, and there are common side effects, right? This is not uncommon. And the problem is that because it is a synthetic version of folate, which is the natural version, then if you can't methylate properly, which is part of your detox pathway, which many people can't, it's very prevalent in our society, this stuff just hangs around. And if you look on the website, if you don't believe me, guys, go and look at folic acid on the website. You will find there are health warnings, there are allergy warnings, and if you look deeper into the medicine, this is not settled science. Yet, it's going to go into every flour. That means every takeaway you have, every pie you have, everything is going to have this in. And I think it's going to cause huge issues. But if you ask the medical profession, they're not educated on this at all. They're just been told the same thing for years. And that's just folic acid that's going to be added. There are many things added to our food. And I would just also say about the expense of it. Since I've been going to my local biodynamic organic farm, so biodynamic, for those of you who don't know, means the way that they work with the land is the minerals get put into the soil, because if there's no minerals in the soil, there's no minerals in the vegetables or fruit that you're eating. And this isn't necessarily true of organic farms, by the way. I find it cheaper. It's cheaper because I'm getting it direct from the farm, and we're seeing the farmers wake up to this stuff. And I know it means like going out for the day instead of going to your local big supermarket, but it is a completely different experience. So I just wanted, what your thoughts are on both of those two things, and what you're hearing.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's crazy. And it's not crazy either because we know why it's happening. We know, the sicker we are, the more they can push other stuff at us, from um, prescribed medication, etc. But I just think I wish people had more education around it. And, obviously you're educating people, I'm educating people, but there's only so much reach that we have. So I think it's just really important for people to start putting their health on that pedestal and just thinking, what's the most important thing? Ultimately, if you haven't got your health, you can't earn, and you could be earning as much as you wanted and not worry about your health until the end, right? My
Mhm.
nan's 20, my nan's 97 or whatever it is people say, and she's been smoking all her life. She's perfectly fine. But she probably had like a good 70-year run of eating great food that wasn't filled with all these different ingredients. Like we look at the difference between when we were growing up and the food now, it's so different. Like the amount of ingredients in it, the type of ingredients in it. And it's like you say, like the soils are depleted. They're massively depleted right now. And then I get why people supplement, but also we can find those farms, the biodynamic farms that are, there for us. And I don't know about you, I feel when I eat like that, I don't need as much food as well
Definitely.
because, yeah, because your body's, it's getting that. Your mitochondria are kind of powered up and your cells are powered up and you just feel alive. And we don't need to eat half as much as food as people think we do as well. People are eating like snacks, they're eating like 4 or 5 meals a day, and we don't need that. And if you just focus yourself on a good whole foods, um, diet where you're eating like mineral rich fruits, vegetables, and whatever it is, um, you can sustain yourself, you can thrive, and you can be healthy as well. So, yeah, I think I mean, without going too much into that detail, we know where it's all coming from. A lot of it is American influence, and I don't know if I can say his name, Bill Gates, but it's all coming from there, right? And I just think I wish, and I'm glad a lot of farmers are waking up to it. And you said about India as well. I've been to India last year and the year before, and there's so many more organic farms. They're doing things so differently in a lot of the places. They are getting the pressure from like the government to use pesticides, to use chemical fertilizers, but they're standing the ground. They're like, no, because actually, I don't want to just keep growing rice and wheat, which is what happened in north of India. But they would, this back in the 70s, they were just kind of told, just grow rice and wheat. This is where you'll make the money. And now they're going back to that biodynamic farming. They're using, they're not using so much machinery as well because that affects the earth and the soil.
Mhm.
They're using, you know, people to cultivate that land. And honestly, the difference, like we went to a biodynamic farm in India and we ate there. We only needed like this much dal, this much, the lentils, this much of the, I think it was aubergine and pepper mixed sabji for the vegetables. Oh my God, we were like for the whole day. I was saying to my husband, like, I'm good. Like, I feel like I've got so much. My body's got so much just from this one meal. Um, and even with the flour, and you're talking about the bread. Like, if I think about my ancestors, we were just making chapati, which is just flour and water. And now people are replacing it because they've been told, don't eat chapati. You know, Western doctors have told women as well, older women, don't eat chapati. It's increasing your sugar levels and all that kind of stuff. But they're then resorting to bread, and we know the ingredients that our bread contains. It's
There's,
like,
there's, there's loads of ingredients. It's like filled with like,
yeah,
but bread is only supposed to have like, well, like three ingredients.
yeah, 3 ingredients full maximum, and it makes me sad. So this is the work that I like to do in the community as well, to educate them that no, eat the foods that your ancestors, that our foremothers had eaten. Like chapati, it's the love that goes into it. It's the fact that it's come from thousands of years worth of practice where they made those, and they would just eat that with a little bit of vegetables on it, and that was wholesome. And it makes me sad that people are replacing these things with things like bread, especially going forward. If well, the fact that they're adding these other extra ingredients in to make people ill, it breaks my heart.
Yeah, it is. And this is where we have a responsibility to educate people. But for those people listening to this today, you might, depending on where you've got this podcast from, you might be aware of some of the things going on in the world or have been going on in the world. And I would say at this moment, your food and your water are the most important things you need to be paying attention to. And it is the biggest control that you have got that to be able to stick your two fingers up at the control systems, right? Being healthy is the best way to rebel, is what, for want of a better word. But most people think because they're eating every day, oh, you see, I'm okay now. I'm not dead yet, basically. But they can't see that the decline in their health is to do with the food and water that they're having. And I'm all about being less reliant on the state, and the more that I've eaten healthier, and I'm not a saint, and I need to be better at it all the time, but the more that I am, the less reliant I am on anything coming forward. I know we're all talking about digital ID, but let's say that they do put it in temporarily. If you're going to the doctor, you're going to have it. I haven't been to the doctor for years, so. So
Yeah,
it's about independence and freedom, and like you say, it's the most important thing you're going to do in a day. So how do you? I remember you. I'm glad you've talked about ghee today because I can remember you saying at the last event that we were at, speaking back to the ladies that have been here for a long time, going, no, you need to go back to what it was.
yeah.
And they were really surprised at this. How do you find what persuades people? Is it your words or is it when they change and they're like, oh my God, Indy, I didn't realize it was going to be this important?
I think honestly, deep down, they know, like a
Yeah.
lot of, especially when you went in our back, like South Asians, and that we've come from that world of, using spices and herbs in our food, turmeric, cayenne pepper, whatever it is, cumin and the black seed. They know that foremothers, their family back in the day were really healthy. I'll tell you a story actually quickly. Is when I went to India, is I was speaking to one of our aunties there, and she said, you know, because they sourced organic spinach for us, because they said we never eat spinach from other people's farms. We always source the organic one. So they were going to make saag for us, and they said, look, back in the day, like I'm talking like great grandmothers, they said like if somebody had a headache in the next village, everybody would know about it. Like, why have they got a headache? Like it didn't happen because these things didn't happen because they were so nourished from the inside. They were so hydrated, and obviously toxins weren't a thing. They were eating out of iron dishes. They were doing everything, not cooking in Teflon and all that kind of stuff. And it was like it was shock, surprise, like, oh, so and so's got this, and then people would send help, like something's going on, like that person's not well, and all it would be a headache, And for us now, it's so easy for people to have a headache and think, oh, it's just a headache, pop a pill. But nobody looks back at what is it. So these people would have gone deeper and said, right, what is it? Have you not had enough water today? Are you stressed physically or mentally? Well, we don't do that anymore. So I think it's talking from that angle with people that really kind of switches their mindset as well. And it is mindset. It's because they were switched into a different mindset when they came here as immigrants, and they were told. I'll be honest, like not many people like to hear this either. Is the white man has always been superior. So for us coming here, it was like, these people know their things, right? They know what we should do, and that's why they did what the doctors told them or whatever it was. But ultimately, I say to them, look, if you know that your grandmother was never ill, she lived to a ripe old age, and she never had to visit a doctor. If anything, she would, heal herself through herbs or spices, or the village doctor who would only hand out herbs and spices, then um, surely we can go back to that. And it takes sometimes a bit of convincing to people that ghee is okay. It's good for you as long as you get organic ghee. You're not using anchor butter to make your own ghee, or you're not using non-organic farmed dairy for it. So I think it's just retraining, right? It's just switch back on again. And a lot of them know, deep down they know, and a lot of them have realized over time that, okay, I've been on medication for whatever X amount of years, but I'm still not feeling good. If anything, I'm feeling worse. So what if I went back to trying that? And sometimes people are at the point in their life where they're like, I'll try anything now. So even if it means I'll come off my statin, or I'll come off whatever medication it is, I'll try it, because if you're saying it's going to work and this is what our ancestors did, then Obviously, disclaimer, I don't tell people to come off their medication,
Yeah.
but I do say work with your body, like go back in, like think about what it is your body would need from you right now. And it doesn't need another, it doesn't necessarily need another pharmaceutical that's going to just suppress the liver and kind of, knock out what work he's doing. And do you know what I mean? It's very much aligning yourself back to that ancestral wisdom, but also doing it in a way where it, it's a thought process behind it. Don't just have ghee because you've been told it's good. Have a think about why it's good for you as well. I think, like you said, education is really important. When you understand why something works and why it's good for you, and that's another thing I do. I always explain, okay, why is cumin good for you? Why is ghee good for you? Because ghee is both, it has nutritional value, it has medicinal value as well. So it's that understanding that it's like anything. If you understand it, you're more likely to comply and it's more likely to work for you as well.
Brilliant. So I'm also bringing this podcast out because I want to raise awareness of people like you so that people know where to go. Because at the moment, when feelings aren't very good inside people's bodies, they leave it and leave it and leave it until it's a crisis. Then they have to go to the doctors and they don't know where else to go. And for alternative, well, traditional natural health, I mean, pharmaceuticals is the alternative, and it's relatively new. Then people know how to do all that, but they don't know how to go back to find people like in a directory, and they don't know which one to choose. And there's so many things. So I wondered if you could explain a little bit about how people find you, how can people find you to reach you, and what sort of people come to you, and at what stage are they at?
So generally, I work with women over 40, but it ranges from 35 up until I think my oldest client right now is 67. So they generally come to me. They've either got a chronic illness or an autoimmune disease, and they are feeling kind of like, okay, I've been told I need to go on X medication, but I don't want to. They know they don't want to. So it's a case of, I know my body can heal itself. I just need the right support and guidance. So that's where a lot of women come to me. And actually saying that, a lot of women also come to me at the point where they're doing everything, like they're eating healthy, and they're doing all the right things, but they're still feeling a little bit, like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Like, what is it that I need to get to the bottom of? And then we work through, and that's where the ancestral guidance comes in as well, because it's knowing that, how to work with your hormones. So a lot of women that come to me, their hormones, because of the world we're living in, because of the overload of toxins, because of our environment, air pollution, water, whatever it is, their hormones are kind of chaotic, I want to say. So they come to me for that guidance around, okay, so it's not just what we eat, it's when we eat, it's how we eat. All of that makes a difference, because if we look at how our ancestors were eating, when they were eating, what they were eating, it all forms together. Because people think just a lot of these ladies have come to me and they've said, I'm eating the salads, I'm having the smoothies, like that's probably where you're going wrong,
Yeah.
right? Maybe we look at changing it, so you're warming up the salads, so you're having steamed foods and vegetables. Maybe your fruits you could stew as well. Our ancestors never ate raw fruit, they never ate raw vegetables, they would cook them slightly so it's easier on the digestive system. Maybe a lot of women I see they have done lots of fasting and cleanses with juices, and those are great if your body's in a place for it. But they've come and they've just whacked their whole gut system out, because they're like, oh, but I fast. I'm doing the intermittent fasting that they're telling us to do. I'm doing the 3-day fasts. But the thing is, then you're doing it and you're already depleted. So when you're already depleted and you're putting your body through a fast, it just puts your body into fight or flight. And if anything, it holds on to what it's got. And then anything else, it's not going to let go of. So you're not going to lose weight because your body doesn't feel safe. So I think a lot of women that come to me as well, that it's that safety, like they don't feel safe in their own bodies at this moment. They know there's something they can do, but they need to kind of tap into it. So it's tapping into that innate wisdom, right? And that's what I teach. Like, we can tap into that. We create the safety in our body first, and then we start to replenish, and then we rejuvenate. Like, people want to go straight into rejuvenation, but if your body doesn't feel safe, you've had years and years of, fight or flight, stress, and pharmaceuticals or whatever it is you're putting into your body, toxins. Your body doesn't feel safe right now. So I think, yeah, I guess that's my USP, if you want to say. I work in a three phase, like safety. So it's kind of a reset, then it's a replenishing, and then it's a rejuvenation. Because we're taught like, okay, if you're ill, just go straight into a fast. But they haven't looked at, am I already depleted? So yeah, I think a lot of ladies come to me and they're already quite depleted, and they've done all this stuff that's I want to say that's hip right now, like it's the thing to do. And they bought the rings that help you with your sleep, and I'm like, do you not know if you sleep? Like, why do you need this app? Why do you need to wear this? And I'm not saying they're bad or good. I'm saying that why doesn't your intuition tell you itself? If you've woken up at night, you would know, and if you've slept through the night, you would know. So it's, for me, it's retraining and kind of rejiggling that mindset to know that, one, you can heal yourself, and two is that you have to believe it. You have to believe that before you work with me. So I say that to any woman that starts work with me. Do you believe you can heal yourself? I'm not healing you, by the way. You are your doctor. I'm nothing. I'm just your guide. I'm going to help you with going through this in the right order. So yeah, that's it really. I feel like a lot of people are just, I don't want to say they're stuck. I want to say they're in the halfway point when they come to me. They're like, "Ugh, I know what you're saying is right. I just don't know how to take myself through that process."
Brilliant. And with your experience and expertise, that can bring all that in, because I see a lot of people wasting money on gadgets and putting themselves through things that they don't need to do, and doing all this like juice fasting. I mean, the juice fasting was massive, and it didn't really resonate with me. Maybe I'm just kind of like lazy, right? But also I realized, because it seems like a
Yeah,
pain in the neck, too much like hard work. But also I was like, why am I getting like food filled with glyphosate and mixing it up and then drinking it and thinking that's going to like somehow cleanse me? But
yeah,
if you're the second person to come on my podcast to say about raw fruit and vegetables, and I think it's important to say, the lady who came on before, Emma, she said the same thing as you. If your gut is leaky, you shouldn't be having raw fruit and vegetables. You can only have that if your gut is healed. Most people's guts are not healed, and it just causes mayhem, right?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I would say like 60 to 70% of the population do not have a healed gut.
Yeah,
And we're
big.
all going through these transitions, especially women. So when we start to hit 40s, whatever it is, with the decline of our hormones and the transition that we're going through with perimenopause and then menopause, it's in Ayurveda, right? So they've told us this like thousands of years ago, that we should be, as we go to get towards this age, we shouldn't be having raw fruits and vegetables, because our body, even science says it as well. So your bile and your stomach acid, it decreases as you get to this age. So our bodies find it really hard. Our digestive system finds it really hard to break this down. So I see these women do these juice fasts and stuff. And yeah, you're right. Like, they're probably buying all non-organic fruits. They're blitzing it all up. They're throwing it down their gobs and thinking they're going to be healed. But there's
Because
a,
that's what the telly tells them, right?
I know. And
And I
then
don't blame it. It's not fair, is it? All of
no,
this misinformation being shoved down people's throats is just not fair.
it's not. But that's where there's the point where you have to think, right, this is my health. I need to take control. I need to take charge and look at what is it that's going to work for me. Even if you look at like your ancestral DNA, and you look at what you ate So your ancestors would have eaten something very different to what my ancestors ate. So that means you could probably eat more of that food than I perhaps could,
Mm.
right? So it's linking it back to what does your DNA recognize? And nobody is looking at that. We're just looking at what
Yeah.
is hip and what is now and what his X person on Instagram said we should be doing. Okay, he told me I should be having 3 day, I should do a 3 day juice fast and I'm going to be cured. but, but where have you come from? Like, okay, so you're South Asian. Do you think your ancestors were doing 3 day juice fast?
Yeah.
And it's not to make anybody feel stupid or because you're
Yeah.
right, there's so much information out there that it's really difficult to know what to pick and choose and what's going to be right for you. That's why it's really important, I think, to just go back to sit with yourself, meditate in the mornings, like 5 minutes even, deep breathing, and reconnect with your own body. Like, forget about everything else, forget about biohacking. Like, I have this thing about biohacking as well. It's like, we can't hack our body. It wasn't designed to be hacked. It's designed to heal itself. Like, your body creates a new version of you every single year. Well, it potentially could if you gave it the right environment. So when people talk about hacking and I'm going to have this because it's the next biohack, it's so and so talked about it. He's a biohacker, so he should know. But then I think, yes, it's great, technological advancements and all that. But again, if your body's already not healed and you're throwing in all these supplements, these biohacks at your body, like if you
Yeah.
could see yourself in the future, ask yourself, what would my future self say to me? Like, I'm spending hundreds of pounds on supplements, hundreds of pounds on these devices, like you said, these wearables. But for what reason? Like, what purpose is it serving me when I could just go through? If I look at my granddad, he's 90, he's going to be 95. Oh no, he's 95 tomorrow. Yeah, I thought it was today. Tomorrow.
Wow.
Oh God, I forgot. It's tomorrow.
After that.
Honestly, he's been using the for brushing his teeth, the Miss Hawk, the sticks.
Yeah.
No, never seen a dentist. Like, never had any issues. Still got his teeth. He's like, he was going to the gym up until 2020, like going into the sauna, going to the gym on the treadmill. And I used to get people come to me and say, your granddad is a gangster. Like, he's incredible. Like, I see him at the gym. He's doing like weight pressing more than I could. He's running on the treadmill more than I could. And I'm like, yeah, because his meals are simple. My mum cooks just simple home cooked food, lentils, vegetables, and chapati. And that's all he ever has. He never has anything outside of that. So he's stuck to his 3 meals a day. He has his warm breakfast. He has a bigger lunch, and then he has a light meal at 5:30. And I think, like, that is the ultimate way to be healthy. And he's obviously having issues now after, 2020, certain things, but he was as fit as a fiddle. And I think if we just go back to that, if we just go back to being simple beings without the
Yeah.
violence, without spending hundreds and thousands of pounds, because again, like, it's it's knowing that yeah, you've looked at this and watch, and it's told you you've not had deep sleep for the amount of hours you needed. Now you're anxious. You're like, oh my God, why? What do I need to do now? And then you're thinking about the next step. So actually, I think these things just create more anxiety in people as well.
I agree with this. I used to wear one of those smartwatches, and maybe we can get onto some of the things that we're doing together, and then we'll
Mm.
then we'll share with people how they can find you because they'll save time and money and get better effects in the long run if they actually see meet a professional rather than somebody who is just pushing juice fast. But I used to wear one of these watches, to count the steps.
Yeah.
And it always, every single day, it used to tell me that I didn't have enough REM sleep. And I used to, that was really outrageous. Right. I was like, but I feel fine.
Yeah.
I don't get it. And it's always like comparing you against something. And I do feel fine. And I do know if I've had a good night's sleep. And generally speaking, my sleep depends on like how I set myself to sleep for a start. Like if I go to bed just like trying to make myself go to sleep, that's different to kind of getting that meditative state, saying I'm gonna have I'm going to have a brilliant night's sleep. And when I wake up, I'm going to feel absolutely refreshed. I tell myself that every day. But it also seems to depend on what food I've eaten the day before. And so this is all linked and it's very simple stuff. But when we've been working on the biofield and you work with the biofield defense shield as well, we now realize that this is literally sucking the charge out of your cells. When we're talking about the mitochondria,
Yeah,
and your mitochondria is spending its time balancing the positive charge, which is, by the way, not good for you. And mitochondria produce hydrogen peroxide, which is negatively charged. Your mitochondria, instead of like revitalizing you and refreshing you and energizing you, it's balancing the battery that you've got. So
yeah.
what's your experience of working with, how about EMFs? You mean, this is the other massive change that's happened over the last 10 years, right?
Yeah, yeah, massive. And your biodefense shields, actually, I want to say, like the people that have switched and started to use them in my world have had like reduced fatigue. They're not as they don't have headaches anymore. They've noticed the difference because these EMFs do affect our, our charge, our internal battery. So I think like we're in the modern world, right? We have to kind of work with it. So if you can use things like that that can help to, kind of neutralize and take away the negative EMFs, then I think it's fantastic because we still have like we're sitting here, we're on our devices and talking to each other. But I do have my shield on.
Mine's stuck on my laptop and on my phone as well, the same,
Yeah,
exactly. So
same.
we can
And
get away with it.
we can. And but even then I say to people, look, even if you have these things that can mitigate some of your toxins or, EMFs, whatever it is, still go out, get outside in nature.
Yes, nothing better than nature.
There isn't like just need to ground yourself. And even when you were talking about sleep, it's like get the morning sunlight before you start looking at your phone and start scrolling because you can set your circadian rhythm. Our ancestors would wake up with the sun, they would go to bed with the sun. So it's very much, I'm not saying go to bed at sunset, but I'm saying, because we have a very different life now, but I'm saying just avoid using, devices and avoid kind of, stressing your body out with these toxins because all they do is increase cortisol levels in your body. And when your cortisol levels rise, we know that leads to other, like the domino effect of it makes your lymphatics sluggish as well, your lymphatic system sluggish. So that's going to affect a lot of things. That's going to affect your gut health, your brain health, how your brain drains at night. That's all of that as well. I mean, this is something I work with my clients as well, is that, our lymphatic system, the waste removal system, when
Mm.
you're sat there with your devices or, at night, whenever it is, all day long, you're basically accumulating cortisol in your body because it's the dopamine hits, right? On
Hmm.
scrolling through and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, and it's proven, right? EMFs cause that sluggishness in our body,
Yes.
and they lead to fatigue. They lead to things like your headaches, and ultimately, it's going to affect your gut health and all of that. So it's it's being mindful. I think that's the biggest thing in this day and age in the modern world. Be mindful. I'm not saying don't use your phones because we have work to do. We use them for certain things, but just become more mindful. And I like that a lot of schools have stopped kids bringing in smartphones. My kids' school have said they can only have a Nokia phone, which makes it so much easier for parents as well.
Oh,
But
mate, I'll tell you though. So first of all, I mean, I really love what you're saying about, you know, the biofield defense shield is not going to solve all your problems. You've got to like not be attached to these things because they're doing way more things than is going to be admitted now, but they'll admit it in 10 years and they'll go, oh, we didn't know. Right? This is how it works. But they are bringing out this year. I heard the government is saying that kids need to start working on iPads and on computers in class. So there's going to be more Wi-Fi and more of that stuff for the kids, which is
yeah,
just horrendous. And there's so many studies about, the effects on IQ, on ability to problem solve, on strength, on many things. But this, just like folic acid, has been ignored. And so we have a responsibility then to do something about it. And you've taken that very proactive step. And what I was really also drawn to on your stand that you had is you make a lot of your own products, don't you?
So I work with women, other women
Yeah,
founders who create non-toxic products.
that's
So the because I feel like they're not the ones that people are going to end up buying. They're going to go to a supermarket and buy the bigger brands. So anything that I stock is always going to be like yourself. I stock your detox capsules and your biofield essentials because I know these are things that are going to help people to start reducing their toxicity. So yeah, I work with women that or founders that have created a product that isn't going to be as toxic as, say, a candle, paraffin wax candle that you
yeah,
get in the supermarket. And, as we come up to Diwali and Christmas, I've said to so many people at events that I know you're going to be lighting those horrible paraffin wax candles that are going to be emitting, carcinogens, and then you've got the fragrance in it, which disrupts your hormones. Switch to like a plant-based wax candle that's got essential oils in it, and it's going to make the difference. And still have your windows open, still let the anything that smokes, obviously you need to let it come out of the house, but it's going to be so much better than the other version. So yeah, I'm just passionate about bringing those people's kind of work to and it's educating people, right, so that these things exist for a
yeah.
reason.
You don't, yeah, because people don't know, don't they? And they're just trying to get, let's make it look, everyone's very aesthetically, drawn. Everyone's looking with their eyes
Yeah,
and they're not really feeling things at the moment.
yeah.
And but hopefully we're seeing a big shift. And I think Diwali, that's a really, really nice thing. Do you think in Diwali this year there'll be more of the kind of silent but pretty fireworks?
Oh,
Do you
I
think
don't
that's good?
know. I don't know. We don't generally do them, but I didn't know there were silent ones.
Yeah, there are. Well, I started to see them last year and I was like, oh gosh, thank God, because it's like a month or 2 months of
Mm,
just like really disruptive frequencies. I mean, I've never really been a fan of fireworks. I like the pretty stuff, but I'm
yeah,
always like this. And it does affect your body, all these loud bangs, don't they? It's like, it's pretty,
what is the animals as well? You've got to
the
think of
animals.
pets and animals out in nature. It's really hard for them. Like, what the hell's going on? And sound frequency affects us, right? And we
Yeah,
don't know what frequency that sound is hitting us at. So
yeah.
I
And
don't
it
know.
doesn't
I
feel nice to me. But
don't know.
there we go. If anyone's listening to this and does fireworks, please get the silent ones. I mean, we- please, that would be great. And so, how can people find you then, Indy?
Okay, I'll answer this question.
Yes, I was going to say.
Tangent before. So I am pretty much mostly on Instagram. I do have a LinkedIn profile as well, so at Vanvard_lifestyle. I do have a YouTube channel as well, which is Indiacore at Vanvard Lifestyle. So I think Joe, you're going to put the links
I'm
below,
going to put
or
all the links in there, everybody. Yeah.
and if obviously anybody feels called to work with me, I do have my signature 6-week program, which goes through my phases of resetting, replenishing, then rejuvenation. And yeah, that's it really. I feel that no matter what capacity you work with me, whether you just listen to a video that I've put on YouTube or whether you go into my paid work or whether you come to one of my workshops, I just want that ripple effect. I just want you to feel it, hear it, implement it, and then pass it on to the next person. That's the most important thing for me because I feel if you look at the bigger picture, it's not about money, it's soul purpose. And I know my soul is here to heal, to help others heal, to help others, I guess, tap into their wisdom to heal. And ultimately, if you heard one thing in this podcast that you think you're going to take away and like implement, or you think you want to research a little bit further, then I guess my work's done.
Oh, I mean, that's so beautifully said. But I just want to big you up just a little bit and say, for those people, if you've just been picking up devices, picking up supplement, if you've not done like a cleanse and you've been on the supplement train for the last few years and you still want to carry on the supplement train, it's time to do something different. Einstein said, if you keep repeating the same things and you're not getting nothing's changing, that's the definition of insanity. Going on the course that Indy's just describing now, or having a one-to-one session and pointer, will save you so much time and money, and you actually get the results. Because Instagram following just your latest influencer is not the way to do this. It's a bit more complicated than that. But the thing is, it's lessons for life. Once you learn this process, it's lessons for life, and you can pass it on to your children and your family. This isn't about making life more complicated. It's about actually making everything simpler. That's what it's all about, stripping things back and making things simpler. And the effects of that on your health and your friends and your family's health is enormous. It's absolutely enormous. Sometimes doing less is doing more.
Yeah, absolutely. I truly believe that. And I love that you said time and money, because some people, that is the objection, is I don't have time to do a program or a course, or I don't have the money. And ultimately, in the long run, that exactly what it's going to save you. So
Exactly. It does. This stuff isn't complicated. It's about it's decomplicating things, actually, is what we do. So hopefully this has struck some kind of chord with the people listening to this podcast today. Every week I bring on an expert in their field around many different topics. So I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode. Please like and share if you found this information interesting, and please visit Indy. She is an absolute delight. She's always out and about at places, and you can also reach her at Instagram or on her website, which all the details will be in the show notes, or the details of the podcast. So just before we leave, Indy, have you got one final thought for the day?
I think it's going back to what you said, and I say it all the time, is keep things simple. Don't overcomplicate things. Like, this body, it was designed to heal in a simple way. Like, we don't need all the noise and the craziness from the outside world. Just keep it simple, keep it you, just focus on your body. That's it.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And thank you for everybody listening. And I'll speak to you next week with a new guest. Thank you very much.